bit. Okay. So we're gonna be starting the first night of our web development after kind of the last session of kind of determining that Phaser 3 was just not gonna happen. And there was many reasons why, but the biggest was just every single thing that we were doing was just it could have been a lot more simpler, and it was excruciating, and especially the syntax, you know, trying to actually do it, it wasn't there, even when we were putting everything in correctly. So I've worked, I think, with a lot more better programs. So now we're just going to take a step back from that, and we are going to actually start the first of many sessions of web development using FreeCodeCamp, and as the name implies, it is free, so anyone could literally go on the site and do it and earn certifications and, you know, have fun while you're doing it. And everything is all in the browser, so you don't even have to, you know, download any software or, you know, have to go searching for requirements or anything like that. You literally could just go in and just start. So, and that's the thing that, you know, I thought would be really good to start off with. And we'll be building projects and stuff along that way, because each area has like a certain project that you have to build before you can move on to the next. And to get your certifications, you have to actually build each and every one of these projects that are listed out. So we'll just go ahead and do that. I'll probably hang on for just a little bit longer, and then we'll kind of start it. But yeah, hope everyone's had a pretty good week so far. I know it's been extremely busy for me. How are you today? Good. Good. All right. So, kind of looking so far. Got a couple people in. That's fine. We can just go ahead and do it. sure more people will just join up. So, as everyone already knows on these, that I'm going to post these to YouTube when they're done. So if anyone wants to catch up on these later, you can. And we're just kind of going at our own pace. If there's any questions, you're more than welcome to feel free and ask. So I've been a lot more advanced in this area, so like I'm gonna know a lot more things than probably a lot of people that are just starting off with this. So I'm gonna try to prevent myself from going like extremely ahead of everybody, and trying to just kind of blow past like all the stuff that I already know, and at least take the time to at least explain it through enough. So we'll just have to see kind of how that goes.
Hey.
The heck? Okay. So, I guess we could just go ahead. Alright, so let's see on here. Nope. There we go. That's better. So, starting off, first certificate we're going for is the new responsive web design. So it was an old course on here. That's still available, but we're gonna start off like for here because this is what a lot of industry standards are probably looking for now, and you might as well get more familiar with the more useful techniques now, and then if you ever wanted to, you can go back and you can look at some of the legacies. It's not gonna hurt you, but it's better to start off here and then go in a row. So we will start off on responsive web development, but then you have these other ones right here as well. So we can go from the responsive web design certification, and then after that we can go into the JavaScript algorithms, the data structures certification, so that way like you'll understand how to use Java. And once we have a good grasp on Java, it'd be good to know this right here for the front end development libraries. So like Bootstrap right here. You got jQuery, which is great. You got Sass, React, Redux, basically all of these. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and you can claim your certification for these. So I mean, it may seem like there's a little, like when you just click on it, like doesn't seem that much when you just kind of look at things without like the drop downs, but it's pretty in depth. So by the time you actually are able to whenever you're finished, you're gonna have like fully fleshed out projects, and you'll be able to show them off to kind of other companies. So yeah, the JavaScript one though is probably going to be by far the kind of the hardest, because you do all these, but then you hit a certain point when you actually have to start doing like a lot of problem solving. Um, and then once you get through all these, like you should have a really good in-depth look. Then you have the ES6, you got regular expressions, debugging, basic data structures, algorithm scripting, object-oriented programming using like the this keyword and being able to create objects within your programs, functional programming, um, with methods like .map and .filter, and then you got intermediate algorithms. It literally beats into you how to use JavaScript and to be really good at it. And then you can claim your certification here, which this certification, honestly, if you can get this certification, that JavaScript algorithms and data structure certification, you're kind of golden, because a lot of people are seeking, very well developed JavaScript developers. Even if like you're not very strong in the front end area, I mean, if you know a lot of ways to how to simplify code or make it more functional, you're gonna make pretty well. And that also goes hand in hand with like is Python. So if you get like a JavaScript and a Python, that will, even if you don't do all of these, just having those two, and I would say relational databases, so like SQL, and be able to like modify like data going in and out of a database. Those would be those three would probably be the best out of this list. Just having like just kind of a wide variety, like just here, and then I would say quality assurance just for the fact of testing, because so you have like just rigorous testing, to make sure your code is compliant and working, and knowing the best practices. And then, so I mean, I say these three plus the four, but to make sure like how these all work and intertwine, it would be best to just obviously go into a row, like being able to start with the first, like it says right here, you can browse all these, but recommend doing these in order, because once you know how to do one thing and then going to the next and then going to the next, you start to actually get a bigger picture of what's a more in-depth picture, I should say, of what you're going to be using the information for, instead of just like, okay, I know JavaScript, but where do I, like in projects, where do I apply this? Or like you can know SQL, but like how do you intertwine that with like Python or like JavaScript, or that sort of thing. So it's good to just maybe go in why we're going to go in the direct order and see how far we can get, because having all of these and having a lot of stuff to put into like a resume and a portfolio, so you can show other companies like, hey, I know what I'm doing. And some people will not have a certification, and that's, or not certification, but like a degree. A lot of people who do FreeCodeCamp sometimes can't afford a diploma, go to school, college, and or they got a lot of like a big workload, so they don't really have time to make room for all of the classes and to take, and it would be overwhelming. So in your free time, with the time that you do have, you can actually do these, and you can stop and pick up whenever you want to. And but it's better to stick with it once you actually start, and try to get into a routine that you're learning at least like an hour a day, what we would call like an hour of code. So that way, like, at least an hour a day, you're learning something new, or you're reinforcing something into your memory, and you're contributing to something that you're going to be proud of, later on when you're finished. So, anyone that wants to go over these, you can. Now, mind you, obviously, I'm not going to be perfect by any means. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a decent amount I'm going to be pretty good at, just for the fact of I have experience with it. But it's going to obviously hit a certain point where, it's unfamiliar to my territory, and then we're going to definitely be learning together some of these concepts. So, I guess I kind of look forward to that aspect, to being able to, if I'm stuck or whatnot, it'd be good to, like, talk it over and, see how everyone contributes, or, kind of, comes together. Because eventually we're going to do this stuff, like, if you're following along, eventually not only am I going to get these certifications, but you all will too with me, if you guys follow, these sessions and the videos. And, hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, yeah. So the first one, like I said, we're going to start off with the new responsive web design curriculum. So in this one, this certification, we're going to learn the languages that developers use to build these web pages, like HTML, which is the hypertext markup language, and CSS, which is the cascading style sheet design. So this is pretty much the bones right here of web pages, the HTML. It pretty much sets up the whole stage for you and everything. But, without design, it would just look bland. Like, everything would just be black and white. So that's why you have CSS, is what makes the website stand out and animate and do things that, you want it to do. And, JavaScript comes in later to help, CSS to, do some of those animation functions. So we're going to build a cat photo app to learn the basics of these two markup languages. And then later, learn modern techniques like CSS variables by building a penguin. So CSS variables, I would assume, is kind of like Sass at some point when we, get to that point. But, CSS variables is like storing code inside of another, like, of a container, let's say. So you got a word or a variable that acts as a container for all the code that is going to go into that container. So, like, you can have a variable such as, like, this, like a cat, or no, what should I say? Like a box, and you can have that box equal, like, kitten or a dog or something like that. And so whenever the box is called, if, like, anytime we go through the code and, like, we have to reference a box variable, it'll display, like, kittens or something like that. So it's kind of like just a container. But yeah, so you got, except these containers are going to contain designs. So we're going to build a penguin using those. Best practices for accessibility by building a quiz site. Which, if anyone knows a bunch of quiz sites, it's mostly just a lot of uh, gotchas and trying to maintain your attention as long as possible, and trying to make you milk your time on the site by just pretty much just a lot of clickbait. So we'll do the quiz site finally. We'll learn how to make web pages that respond to different screen sizes by building a photo gallery with Flexbox and a magazine article layout with CSS Grid. So let's say this right here. So, I don't know why we have that up. We don't need that up. So we look at this. So right here, depending on how big it is, see this? This is what responsive web design does. So if we were looking at this right here, this is what we look like kind of on the phone, if we can think about it. So when you get to a certain size, it condenses all this stuff. But whenever we open it up more, see, now you have a menu. The FreeCodeCamp is here. Logo's there. You have the search bar now when it hits right here. So right there. So that's the transition. Like when the screen is this big, this is going to generate. And so we're seeing this. And yeah, I mean, that's essentially all responsive web design does is just, responding to inputs and, user modifications to your website or screen, and how the website will handle them. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. So first things first, the very first. So the first thing that we're going to start building, this is what it's going to look like. So as you can see, this is very, very basic, very bland, nothing much to it. As you can see, it's just, now I'm pretty sure this is all just straight HTML. I don't even think there's any CSS in this. See right here, got an indoor, outdoor cat. You can choose, so you have these two radio buttons, then you have the check boxes, you have a text field and a button, and then, well, there's the copyright information. So, kind of a preview, overall what this is gonna build. All right, so let's go ahead and start. All right, so HTML elements have opening tags. If you don't know, these right here are tags, what we refer to as tags. This right here, they have an opening and closing tags. So the opening is right here, and then we end it off right here with a /, and then whatever element. The text for an element goes between its opening and closing tags. Find the H1 element and change its text to cat photo app. So here's the H1, which stands for header 1. So this will be, as you can see, it's now hello world. So we'll go ahead and modify this to say cat photo app. Oh, and see, as you can tell, that's how you can tell that it's not supposed to be in there, and how it's there and how it disappears. That's how you can tell that the tag is working as if, the extra characters aren't showing. So basically your browser is interpreting what you're inputting in here into these spaces. and it's trying to make it viewable to users. So check the code, and it is complete. So congratulations, your code passes. Submit your code to continue. So it passed, and now we are on to the next challenge. So step 2. So H1 through H6 headers are heading elements are used to signify the importance of content below them. The lower the number, the higher the importance. So H2 elements have a less importance than H1, right? And only use the one H1 element per page and place lower important headings below the higher important headings. So you're going to have one H1 heading, and basically this will be like a big title or whatnot, but then you have, you have your subtopics, which would be, your H2. So below the H1 element right here, your heading 1, added a H2 element with this text. So we'll go ahead and create the H2 with the cat photos. And H2. See? There we are right here. So you got your heading 1, and then you have your heading 2. As you can see the difference, how big this is, and then how smaller this one is right here. So let's go. We are now on 3. Cool. So we now have the cat photo app, our header. Then we have our header 2. And then now we're going to be using the P element, which is used to create a paragraph of text on websites. So create a P element below your H2 element and give it the following text. Click here to view more cat photos. So anytime you want to write like a long string of text or anything like that, we'll usually use the P element for your paragraph. So P, then click here to view more cat photos. There we go. And then we will close this. So see, you have your heading 1, the title, then you have like your subtitle, and then right here is where we have our paragraph. So you can definitely tell a difference. Definitely because of the bold, and how this right here is not bold. So let's go ahead. Right, cool. So now we are on step 4. So commenting allows you to leave messages without affecting the browser display. So this is a very, very important part, and this goes throughout the rest of any project you go on or anything you learn. You always want to have comments, and whenever you leave comments, they will not show up within to the user. They will only show up to the people who are looking at the source code or the developers. So you can go right here, and we can add a comment. So add a comment above the P element. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter, and above this P element we will add a comment. See how it's green? That means that the comment's working. And then we're going to add this. So to do, and add link to cat photos, and then we close it. So that way, because if you left it open, that means everything below it turns to a comment. We don't want that. So there you go. So it allows you to make code inactive. A comment in HTML starts with this, as you know. So the left arrow, exclamation point, 2 dashes or hyphens, whichever you wanna call it. to do, your comment, and then 2 dashes and a right angle bracket. So for example, the comment contains the text. Yeah. So I think we've nailed that over the head on how to make, you know, these comments. All right. So we're good. It passes. So basically, here it says add a link. Here, this is what we're going to do, but you can't see it right here, and that's the way it's intended. So HTML5 has some elements that identify different content areas, and these elements make your HTML easier to read and help with search engine optimizations, or SEOs, and accessibility. So identifying the main section of this page by adding a main opening tag before the H1 element and a closing tag and a main closing tag after the P element. So the search engines are gonna know what to look for, because they can look and see a main and be like, okay, this is the main section of this. And so it knows how to better optimize it for the search engine. Whenever, like Google or Bing or whichever one you decide to use. So let's go ahead, and in here we will do the main, and we're gonna make all the main content within here. Technically we want to add more in front. So here's the body. So this right here, as you can see right here and here, they're on the same line. I personally wouldn't have these on the same line. I would actually, you know, move these up so that way it's indexed. So that way we know that this is the highest, then it goes down a level, down another level, and then within this is what's in here. So we can do we have our opening main, and then we have our closing main tag. So everything in here is part of the main tag element. So far so good. Nothing too bad. We are kind of we understand what each of these components are doing now. If you haven't noticed, and I'm not sure if it's going to actually go over it, all HTML starts with like the basic structure. You have your HTML element, and which basically contains the whole web page, and then you have your body, which is everything that's going to be inside the web page. So you have your body, then you obviously have your main right here of the main content, body, closing tag, and your HTML closing tag. So this essentially is what makes up an actual HTML document. And right here, as you can see, this is the index, which is usually a home, what people call as the home of the site, and .html. So you can definitely tell that this is an HTML document. So we'll go ahead, we'll check the code here. So it's good. We'll go ahead and go to the next challenge. So in the previous steps, we put the H1, H2, comment, and P elements inside the main element, and this is what is called nesting. So we are now nesting these elements inside of another element. So nested elements should be placed 2 spaces further to the right of the element they are nested in. This spacing is called indentation and is used to make HTML easier to read. So yes, like we were talking, the structures, the higher level to lower level structures, these are indentations. So you can do 2, or you can do a tab. So it's up to you. I usually just do tabs. People have like a really different opinion on what's better, but I mean, to me, you could just use use tabs instead of spaces. That's my preference. So, the H1 element, H2 elements, and the comment are indented 2 spaces more than the main element, right? Below, use the spacebar on your keyboard to add 2 more spaces in front of the P element so it's indented properly as well. So again, this was, you know, over here, I could do 2 spaces, but I'm going to do a tab because that's just what I'm used to doing whenever I'm coding, and that it really doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything, but it makes it clean. So we'll check this, and that's good. All right, so as you notice, it's pretty boring. We have just this, you know, just text right here, not really anything much to look at. So now we are on a place we're going to add images, and finally we get to the image element. So it wants us to add an image element below the P. So to do this, we have our opening. We're going to do our opening tag, img, and then we're going to have the closing img element. So I don't want to get too far ahead because if I just start adding more stuff, I don't know what's going to happen. But we have an opening and a closing tag. I have an opening tag with that closing tag. Oh. Okay. Well, if I would have read that, I would have. So yes, you can use images to our website, and the image elements actually have a unique factor. So you can actually self-close your tag. You don't have to have an opening and a closing element. You can actually do it all in one. Because usually things are not going to really go in between it. So far when we run this, nothing's going to go. But yeah, that's my fault for not, you know, exactly paying attention to the directions. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So this is you can create images without a closing tag, and all you have to do is have your, you know, left angle bracket, the image element, / and then your right angle bracket. So yeah, these are one of the only ones that you can do that with. So HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag of an element to control the element's behavior. The source attribute in an image element specifies the image's URL. So in other words, where the image is located. An example of an image element using a source attribute. Oh, this is the example right here. So you have your image attribute right here, and then this right here, you have the image element. This has a source attribute right here that shows the URL right here. So you can't just put this in here. You have to have the source =, and then you have, you know, what's the source right here, and it has to be in quotes, in quotation marks. So this is the location of it, and then this is basically saying like, hey, the source is equal to this exactly, like, you know, saying this is what it is. So inside the image tag, we're going to add the source attribute. So attributes, if you, I know we just read a little bit ago, but I want to make sure you understand that this right here is an element, and that this right here is the attribute. So this is what gives it a behavior for the element to do things. So the source, and then we're going to take this right here. We're going to take this location, and then we're going to put it in between here. And I just add the closing bracket right here just because of out of habit. But yeah, as you can see right here, now we have our picture. Go ahead and check it. Doing pretty good. All right. So far, so good. Doing pretty well. All right. So now we'll see what's going on with the next challenge. On 9. So all image elements should have an alt attribute. The alt attribute text is used for screen readers to improve accessibility and is displayed if the image fails to load. So for example, this image is going to display the cat JPEG, the cat picture, but it's going to have an alt that says a cat. So if this fails to load, it's still going to show that this is a cat in text and for screen readers. So, you know, people who are, you know, disabled can be able to follow along as well with what they're viewing. So inside the image element, we have our source attribute, and then we're going to add an alt attribute that says a cute, oh, don't want to butcher that, orange cat lying on its back. All right, so we'll go ahead. Oh, oop, yikes, I accidentally pressed save. I'm so used to coding in Visual Studio that I just saved after I did that. So let's go ahead and test it. So you can't see it right now, but if this ends up failing to load, just know it will. It will show the alt element. So you can link to another page with an anchor element. So this is pretty important as well. This is like a big step to being able to have others view other websites in your web page. You know, to go to like your Facebook profile or any other social media that you want to, like Twitter or Instagram. You know, you can even link to your TikTok, whatever you want. So you can link to another page with the A element. So it comes with an A hyperreference equal to this, and then you put the where you want the link to go to, and then you have a closing tag. So in between here is what would what becomes hyperlinked, or what word is going to take that, or element, or yeah, so what thing, anything in between here will take you to this site. Essentially, that will be in between, you know, these brackets right here, the opening and closing tag. So we'll go ahead and add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to https the FreeCodeCamp.com, but the link won't show up in the preview. So the reason being is there's nothing really to use to continue. So ahref, and we want it to go to https freecatphotoapp.com. And so there we go. You have that, and then we also have to have our closing tag. So see, you can't see anything that's happened yet, but when we go into the next one, probably not right now. So as I was discussing right here, it shows it. See, you can see in this example, in between the beginning tag and the closing tag, there is the click here to go to this site. And so if you would click it, it would actually open that window. So you can add the anchor text link to cat pictures to the anchor element, and this will become the links text. So you can put right here, see in between how I have that. So let's put link to cat pictures. See? Yeah, we'll just do it with the lower. But see, now right here, when you hover over it, now it gives you a little pointer finger where it's saying like, hey, I noticed that you're on an element. It looks like it's going to take you somewhere. And then if you look way at the bottom over here, it'll actually, when I hover over this, it'll actually show you where the link actually will take you to. So we'll go ahead, we'll submit that. Go to the next one. In the previous step, we turned the words link to cat pictures into a link by placing them between the opening and the closing anchor tags. And you could do the same to words inside of an element, such as the P element. And in the text of your P element, turn the words cat photos into a link to freecatphotos.com by adding opening and closing anchor tags around these words. So cat photos, we could do right here. We have the A, href, to this right here. So we're taking that link that we used in the last one. Oh. Now see, this right here, as you can see, we're inside the paragraph element, and then we want it around the cat photos. So we're gonna start the anchor tag right before the cat photos, and then we're gonna have it right here, right before the ending. So we'll put it right here. See, now the underline only goes to this and before the period. So you can see right here. So we can check. Nice. So now you see you got a hover on. So cool. Now, you've done the headers, you've done each header, you've done the paragraphs, you've been able to, if you've been following along, have been able to learn how we add the image in here. And now we have added hyperlinks. So a lot of these are just, the basic foundations of, web pages. So now that you turn the text photos inside the P element into a link, you don't need the second link below. Delete the entire anchor element below the P element or the paragraph. So see, we don't need any more. We have it right here. Nice. So we will go ahead and check. Nice. So sometimes if we click on this, it will actually change the whole, link that it'll change the whole web page that you're on. And sometimes, unless it annoys people because people have to press the back button to go back to their to where they were at. Sometimes if it's, if they're working on the form or something, they don't want to lose their progress, all that kind of stuff. So some people want it to go into a new tab, and this is what is known as a target attribute. And so we will use the target attribute. So target, we will add this to the A element, the anchor element. And the target will be a value of _blank. Oop. Alright, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, see? That's all it takes. If you want it to open into a new tab, you just add the target equals _blank. So we'll go to the next challenge. Turn the image into a link by surrounding it with necessary element tags. Use the FreeCat photo app as the anchor's hyperreference attribute value. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. A for the anchor tag, href, and then we will in here put https freecatphotoapp.com, and then we will close it. Oh, nope, we gotta go on this side because we can't put it in here, or else it's gonna think it's it's part of the link. So we have it here, so there's our opening, and then we're gonna put it right here as our closing. So see, now if we hover over the cat picture, you notice now we have a new mouse cursor. It turns into a pointer finger. That means, the link is active. Although I don't really like that. There we go. Keyfrag. freecatphotoapp.com. And yeah. So if I were to click on this, this would actually open up a new... No, this won't open up a new one. Because when we click on this, we don't have the target right here. We don't have this target attribute. So if we click on it, it's going to change this whole entire web page to, the freecatphotoapp.com. So what we would do is we would make a target and then, equals with the _blank value, as you see up here. So we'll submit that. So we've gone pretty far so far. So before adding any new content, you should make use of a section element to separate the cat photos content from future content. So this is the main content, as you can see. We have these all bundled into one thing, or one area right now, but what if we want different sections? And this is where that section element comes in to separate the content. So use your H2, so right here, H2, the comment, and the paragraph tag, and the anchor elements, and nest them into a section element. So we're going to take this, we're going to do a section, and we're going to put this right here into a section. Now remember, this is a closing tag, so we want to end it. make sure we close that off. And then we want to indent to show that everything is under this section right here. We'll check it. There we go. So now essentially everything is sectioned off. So it's time to add a new section and add a second section element below the existing section element. So we'll add it right here. So section, and then we will do a /section element. So here, in between here, this is where all of our new sections are going to go. So you have this one, which is one section. Then we have a new section right here. So let's go to the next one. So within the second section element, add a new H2 element with the cat list. So we already have cat photos. This is one. So now we're starting a new one with a H2 for cat lists. H2. So see, now we have this, a new sections here. We'll submit this. So we're good. Now, when you add a lower rank heading element to the page, it's implied that you're starting a new subsection. After the last H2 element of the second section element, add an H3 element with this text. Things that cats love. So it's implied that we're making another subsection. So we have, our title, our section, which this declares another section, but now we have like a subtitle, another subtitle. So H3 and things cats love. And then we will close this off. So see how you got the first, it's big, got the second, that they're, one step below, and then this makes it even lower, but still keeps that strong bold on the text. So we'll check this. Good here. Alright, so after the H2 element with the things cats love, add an unordered list element. So it's showing that when we do this, there won't be anything within it. So we'll have this, and unordered list. So our closing. So here, there you go. Now we have nothing in here yet. This is what it's wanting us to do. So to the next one. So as you can see right here, these are the list items, which start with an LI element that are within the unordered list. So you have your unordered list right here, and then inside of it, you're going to list each item. And you'll see when we add this. So we have our unordered list right here. And then we're going to add an LI element for our list. So this is list item. As you can see, now that we added the LI, there's a little bullet point that shows, hey, here's a bullet point of one, obviously one point that we're making of the list. So they like catnip. So catnip, and then closing LI to say that we're done with this. We're going to add the next one. So the next one we're going to add laser pointers. And then the last but not least, like Garfield, lasagna. Got that lasagna on the mind. There we go. So see, now everything inside of here in the other lists are just bullet points. Now if you used an ordered list, you would then actually start using like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it'll actually start keeping track. So the unordered list, you have what you need right here. Check the code. We're good. All right. Does anyone have any like kind of questions up to this point, or anyone kind of stuck? So I've been a lot of this stuff is kind of obviously just I'm a lot more, I'm pretty familiar with this area of things, since this is like the first building block. So a lot of it's just more or less going to be kind of going over the material and kind of simplifying a lot of things, but there, like I said, when we get to a point, it's going to be a lot of me being stumped on certain things depending on what we do. Probably when we get to the JavaScript, that's where it's going to really probably stump me, because a lot of those algorithm questions of trying to think of different ways to do things can definitely trip you up. So that's probably one of the things looking forward that's going to actually be an issue. But stick with it, and eventually you'll get your certificate that you can put on your LinkedIn page, or be able to show above like your office wall or something like that, saying, hey, I am proficient in these things, and not just take my word for it, but you can look at my portfolio and show that you do in fact know the material. So anyway, we got this done. Let's go on to the next one. I didn't see that there was any like questions or anything, so I think we're good. So now, under the unordered list, add a new image with a source attribute value set to here. And as you can see, you have the whole link, but then right here where it's pointing to is this lasagna photo. So you can kind of grasp an idea of what this is going to be. And then it's going to be an alt of a slice of lasagna on a plate. So it says right under here. So remember, we got the image element, and then we're going to do the source attribute, and it's going to be this right here. So we can go ahead and just go ahead and copy this and throw it in here inside the quotation marks. As you can see, it's already populating, but we're not done yet, so we have to do the alt and say, hey, a slice of lasagna on a plate. Plate. Okay, a slice of lasagna on the plate, and then we can end it right here. So as you can see, we now have lasagna. Nice. And that looks, oh my god, that looks so good. Hey, look at that lasagna. Huh? I wish I could eat lasagna. Oh my god, that looks so good. Okay, anyway, we're gonna move on. So we have lasagna, picture, we're good. So as you can kind of see now, this is pretty busy. So we've now added a decent amount to our page. Adding, these comments in here every now and then is probably going to be, help out another developer a lot. If you can add like certain things, but for now, we're still learning, still going by FreeCodeCamp's instruction. So just know that if you're doing like a bunch of stuff, you definitely want to put in some comments or whatnot of certain things, of what things are doing. So we'll go to the next one. So we have the figure element represents self-contained content and will allow you to associate an image with a caption. Nice. Okay, so that's the image you just added with a figure element. So we'll go ahead and outside of here we'll go figure, and then we will end it here. So we'll go ahead, put that within the figure. So as you can see right here, we took this out. Like if we took out this figure right here, see how it indented? That's a really big, that's a difference between just putting an image in and an image with a figure. So we'll definitely see a little bit more here in a moment. So a fig caption element is used to add a caption to describe what the image contained within the figure is. So we'll have a fig caption right here, and then we'll put that in the opening tag. Cats love lasagna. I don't know why it's so hard to write that. Fig caption. See? And then there's a caption right underneath it that tells you that cats, in fact, do love lasagna. So we have that here. So doing pretty good so far. We now have passed the adding a fig caption. So we'll submit that. Emphasize the word love in the fig caption element by wrapping it in an emphasis element. So, okay. So earlier when we were saying, like, you know, you have your header elements, it makes, you know, all the words, you know, automatically bold. And, you know, in some sentences you're wanting to actually, no, I think the EM emphasizes so it makes it like italic, I believe. Hold on. I want to double check, because I could be mixing it up. Okay, so I got it mixed up. So the emphasize makes it italic. The strong tag makes it bold. So definitely want to kind of forget what I said beforehand, because that's two differences. Emphasize makes it italic to emphasize what you're saying. So cats love lasagna, and you can see that right here. So this tag right here, if you want to make a point, you can do this, or, you know, people also like to make it bold to make a strong argument, or a strong, like, attention to a certain area. So after the figure element, add another H3 element with the text, top 3 things cats hate. So we'll go with right here with another H3, top 3 things cats hate. And add this right here. Alright. Top 3 things that cats hate. And I would expect this being in another, no, it wouldn't be in another section. That's H2s. So these are the cat lists. Alright. So we're still in this second section. So this is where an order list comes in. So instead of having these bullet points, If we make an order list with the OL, we can make an LI. And as you can see right here, we now start with 1 instead of just a bullet point. So you got flea, treatment. We have thunder. Cats definitely are not big fans. Still got that lasagna on my mind. Other cats. There you go. So there you go. And, oh, one last thing. We have to close our order list. So you have an unordered list right here, and then you have your order list right here. So we'll check the code, and we are good. Go to the next challenge on 28. So add, after the order list, add a figure element. And one figure. I'm sure this is gonna be like more cats, maybe. So make an image. Nope. So image with the source attribute of cats. How did I know that? Look at that. What? No. You know what comes after lasagna? More lasagna. There we go. Cats. So, top 3 things cats hate, other cats. Although, that's so adorable. Anyway, we're going to then seal that off. Check it. We're good. To improve accessibility of the image, we're going to add the alt that says 5 cats looking around a field. Nice. All right. And then I assume we're going to have a fake caption. How did I know that? Here we go. So we'll go here, and inside here, we'll do a fake caption. Cats hate other cats. Check that code. I think that came out of the outlet. Doesn't look like there's power going to it. Huh. You might have to actually... I think it may have came out behind the... Like it might have came loose of the power cord. Well, hold on. Before you start Hold on, guys. unlike the headers where everything is bolded, you now have a select amount that you want to have bold. It's cool. We'll go ahead and finish that up. It is time to add a new section. Add a third section element below the second one. So this is the first, the second, and then we'll add another one. Check it. Cool. Now we're now going to make a form. So a form, obviously everyone knows what a form is. You have your inputs and you know, things that you can write text in, you can browse for photos, that sort of stuff, and then enter it in. So you have the h2 element with cat form h2. Do you hear that? What is that? Is that the heater? Huh. Definitely working. So there we go. So we have this one for a list, and then we have our cat form. Check the code. Congratulations, it's all good. Submit that. Alright, now we'll add a web form to collect information from users. After the cat form, we'll add the form element. So form, and we'll add the end form. Check the code. Naturally you want this on the same level. And then the action attribute indicates where the form data should be sent. So for example, you have your form, the action attribute, and then we want it sent to this URL. It tells the browser that the form data should be sent to the path submit URL. So add an action attribute. So we'll add the action attribute with this submit cat photo. So there we go. So this is where it's going to be sent when we submit all the data. Submit cat photo. So go ahead. Ta-da! So now we'll go to the next one. The input element allows you several ways to collect data from a web form, like image elements. Input elements are self-closing and do not need closing tags. So we'll nest it inside here with an input. And like you said, we don't need to, it's a self-closing. So there we are. Now, there is our input right here. So we can go ahead and submit. There are many kinds of inputs you can create using the type attribute. You can easily create a password field, a reset button, or a control to let users select a file from their computer. So create a text field to get text input from a user by adding the type attribute with the value text to the input element. So what that means is, so inside the input we'll do type, and then we'll make this, what is it? Text. So there we go. So this is going to just be text. Ta-da. Go to the next challenge. In order for a form's data to be accessed by the location specifying the action attribute, you must give the text field a name attribute and assign it a value to represent the data being submitted. So for example, you could use the following syntax for an email address text field. So you're basically saying, okay, this is going to be field. Now, what's the name of this specific field? Well, we're going to name this with the name of cat photo URL. So basically, it's just giving the name of this is what this box is. So yeah, it's just basically naming the data that we add in here. So whenever we send the data, it's going to say like, oh, the cat photo URL inside here produced this data or something like that. So, all right. So now placeholder text. We'll learn about that. The placeholder text is used to give people a hint about what kind of information to enter into an input. So for example, the input type text, you got the placeholder email address. So it's basically saying like, hey, this is what, suggesting, hey, this is what should be in this field. So we can add this as a placeholder of cat photo URL. So see, there you go. I went to save. So anyway, if you can see right here, cat photo URL, and then when you start typing stuff, it goes away. But see, this is basically saying, hey, this is what we're giving you a hint about. So we got the input, the type of input, the name of what it is, and the placeholder of what's going to be inside here. So now, to prevent a user from submitting your form when required information is missing, you need to add the required attribute to an input element. There's no need to set a value to the required attribute. Instead, just add the word required. So at the end here, this right here is just saying, hey, you can't submit anything until this is required. See? So some things will be optional, but, you know, this is absolute what we needed. So look at that. Look how much we've already written. I mean, it adds up. Pretty neat. So now we have our URL. Now we can use a button element to create a clickable button. So for example, button, click here, and button. Creates a button with the text, click here. So now we'll add a button element with the text submit below the input element. The default behavior of the clicking a form button without any attributes submits the form to the location specified in the form's action attribute. So if we just create a button in here without any context or anything, it just automatically assumes that it's a submit button. So see, submit, and they'll send it to the location specified here in the action. So check it. Cool. So we're doing all right. Okay, even though you added your button below the text input, they appear next to each other on the page. That's because both input and button elements are inline elements which don't appear on new lines. The button you add will submit the form by default. However, relying on default behavior may cause confusion. Add the type attribute with the value submit on the button to make it clear that it is a submit button. So we'll do type submit. Yep. So the button and input, as you can see right here, are right next to each other. They're inline elements, so they're not actually like block elements. They can't just like have their own blocks or whatnot. They're in line with each other, even though they're on separate lines. So remember that. Just because they're on different lines doesn't mean that they're not going to be on separate ones. And I'm sure it'll show how to put it on another line. Or maybe not. Who knows? We'll just have to see. You can use radio buttons for questions where you want only one answer out of multiple options. So here's an example of a radio button with the option of cat. So input type radio with cat. Remember that input elements are self-closing, right? Before the text input, add a radio button with the option set as indoor. So, okay, so input type radio button, and with what, indoor? Is that what it said? Indoor. Okay, so see, right next to it. Oh, and you click on it, and it works. So there's really not much, not a whole lot you could do with one radio button. Elements are used to help associate the text for an input. So now we're going on with labels. So used to help associate the text for an input element with the input element itself, especially for assistive technologies like screen readers. So for example, the label input type radio cat label makes it so clicking the word cat also selects the corresponding radio button. So we can do that. So for example, let's add the label here. It's typical to add labels to these. Just like the rule of thumb is if an input is always gonna have a label that's associated with it to wrap it around. So if we click on the indoor right here, see, we didn't even click on the button, but click on the indoor makes it clickable. All right, the ID attribute. Okay, so this is one that's going to be important. Is used to identify specific HTML elements. Each ID attribute's value must be unique from all other ID values for the entire page. Add an ID attribute with the value indoor to the radio button. When elements have multiple attributes, the order of the attributes doesn't matter. So we can go ahead and add an ID, and we're going to call this indoor. So whenever we try to, like, target this element, and we would be targeting the ID, so it's not really going to change anything, but you'll see how it's important later on. Create another radio button below the first one, nest it inside the element with outdoor as the label text. Give the radio button an ID attribute of outdoor as the value. So we'll go ahead and, in the programming world, work smarter, not harder. We'll add this. The ID will be outdoor. It's still a type radio, and then over here we're going to change the in to out. And see, now you have two. But see, now you can click both of them. So we need to make sure that we can only click one here soon. So notice that both radio buttons can be selected at the same time. To make it so selecting one radio button automatically deselects the other, both buttons must have a name attribute with the same value. So add the name attribute with the value indoor, outdoor to both radio buttons. So the name, we'll put it after name, indoor, outdoor. So name, indoor, outdoor. There we go. See? They both have the same name. So now, when we click one, it'll only select one of these. Okay. Alright, so we can now submit and go to the next challenge. If you selected the indoor radio button and submit the form data for the button is based on its name and value attributes. Since your radio button doesn't have a value attribute, the form data will include the indoor outdoor equal on, which is not useful when you have multiple buttons. So right, if you have that, it'll just say that this name is on, which obviously doesn't. When you're looking at the data on the other side, you're gonna wonder, okay, which one? So the button's value attribute to this, set the value attribute to the same value as its ID attribute. So we'll go ahead and put the value attribute as the same as its name, not its name, it's, there we go. You want it the same as its ID. So the value outdoor. So now, whenever you hit submit and it shows the data, whenever you want to go and retrieve it, whoever is on the other end who's looking at it, they're going to see that, hey, the outdoor is selected, or hey, the indoor is selected. That's the value. The field set element is used to group related inputs and labels together in a web form. So field set elements are block level elements, meaning that they appear on a new line. So nest the indoor and outdoor radio buttons with a field set element, and don't forget to indent the radio buttons. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Right here. So we'll go ahead in the form. So since it's under the form, we put the field set. Oh, we don't want to do that. Let's put it here. Field set. Then we will put the fields. Field set. Alright, so now if you look right here, now we have a whole outline around it. Let's made them together. Oh, and you don't put these on the same line. Since this is underneath the field set, we put them in there. So now we check our code. Everything is good. Let's go to the next challenge. The legend element acts as a caption for the content in the field set element. It gives the users context about what they should enter into that part of the form. So add a legend element with the text, "Is your cat an indoor and outdoor cat?" above both the radio buttons. So it's a legend. Is your cat an indoor or outdoor cat? So see, look, now your question's right here, and then you have these right here, your radio buttons. So we'll check. Good to go. add some new form input elements. So add another field set element directly below the current field set element. So let's go ahead with that. So field set, and then we will do another field set. Add that. So we're gonna make a new field, which I believe we're gonna be doing. What do we do this time? We're doing check boxes. So legend. Now, what's your cat's personality? All right. So /legend. All right. Now we checked it. Now see, here's the second one. What's your cat's personality? The next challenge, and now we're gonna do checkboxes. So how to do that? It's pretty easy. It's the same thing. Remember, input. Now the type of input. This is going to be a checkbox, right? And then in here, you're gonna add loving. See, now we have a loving checkbox. But remember how we did this beforehand? We're probably going to have a label around this. So check your code. It's not pass. Type attribute set to checkbox and give it the caption of loving. Well, that doesn't make sense because we certainly did. Oh wait, am I supposed to have a... Okay. The space, man. I guess you just gotta have a space. Because you don't want it right up against there, you want space in between it, so I guess that makes sense. You want to make sure you know you're doing that. So the ID will be loving. Nice. And then we're gonna do a label. With the element itself, you can nest the text within a label element and add a for attribute with the same value. Okay. So you can associate this with the element itself. You can nest the text within a label element and add a for attribute with the same value as the input element's ID. So that's a stronger relation. So label. So for loving, and then loving. Oh, no, not loving. Label. Jeez. Associating the text loving with the checkbox by only nesting the text loving in a label element and place it to the right side of the checkbox input element. Huh? So wait a minute. So putting it right here. Oh. Okay. So the label. So you can do the label here. Or you can make the label for this. Okay. So, all right. Okay. Add the name attribute with the value personality to the checkbox input element. Okay. So, name, personality. While you won't notice this in the browser, doing this makes it easier for a server to process your web form, especially when there are multiple checkboxes. Okay. So, loving. Okay, so you could do it that way, or you can do it this way. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So we'll submit. Add another checkbox. After the one you just added, the ID attribute value should be lazy, and the name attribute should be the same as the last checkbox, correct? Also add a label element to the right of the new checkbox with the text lazy. Make sure to associate the label element with the new checkbox using the for attribute. Okay. So let's go ahead and make. So I guess so input ID, and this will be lazy with a type of checkbox with a name. Now we want these to be the same. Personality. And then label for lazy. And then we will put in lazy. And then and the label. So that should be another checkbox. There we go. So there we go. So the IDs, these values indicate which one is selected. Do these have a value? Add a final checkbox after the one with the ID attribute of energetic. Okay, so input ID energetic. Okay, so with the type of checkbox, name will be personality. Okay, so we can then do a label for energetic, and then energetic slash label. Alright. So now we have 3: loving, lazy, and energetic. Yep, and I thought we would need a value. Is optional. It's best practice to include with any checkboxes or radio buttons. So right, value at same as the ID. So this is what I was going to say, that each one of these should have a value just to distinguish. So it's best practice to have one for each one. So This one will be lazy. Lazy. And then this one will be have a value of energetic. There we go. So when it's submitted, then all of these will have a value attached to them. Or make a checkbox checked or array button selected by default. You need to add the checked attribute to it. There's no need to set a value. You just add checked. Instead, just add the word checked to the input element. Make sure there's a space between it and the other attributes. So by default, we're gonna go ahead, make the indoor attribute checked and the loving one checked. So as you can see, this automatically sets them to checked. So you can go ahead and switch between them. So now you can say, okay, we need an answer no matter what, so you're gonna have at least one of these. Maybe not for this one necessarily, but at least for up here. So check the code, looks good. Submit. Now we have everything kind of going pretty good. Now we're going to add what is known as a footer. So we have the main content under the main. We had our sections. Now this is outside of the main element. This is the footer. This is what goes at the end of the web page, like where all the site settings and stuff, or site maps and stuff are. So there's your footer. Now within the footer, we're gonna nest a P element with the text copy right FreeCodeCamp.org, and then ending paragraph tag. As you can see down here, we now have a footer at the end. Now as you can see, everything is blank. We're going to obviously change that later on to add more design and more, fun stuff to it through using CSS. So and then we're going to use the FreeCodeCamp.org link by enclosing it within an anchor. So remember how we did that? We would use the A hyperreference and then put the element inside. We would put the location inside here. So we want this right here. Put this inside and then close off. We will check it. As you can see, if you go over here, the FreeCodeCamp is now able to be clicked. And, I'm just going to do this for the sake of it, but if you want, you can also do, remember the target, and you can put the blank. So that way it opens it in a new window. See? Bring it to another website. It works. This is a link to FreeCodeCamp.org. So that's originally what it would do, but it's not going to. Alright, so notice that everything you've added to the page so far is inside the body element. All page content elements that should be rendered to the page go inside the body element. However, other important information goes inside the head element. Now, this is a very important part right here. This is the head, which I'm sure it's going to explain more about it, but this is, well, let's see what it goes on next to say about it. So within the head, you have your title, you have your metadata, you have your links, you have pretty much all the stuff that's not going to be shown on the actual web page other than the title. And it'll go into more detail of whether the things can probably go inside here. But for instance, there's a title, and the title is going to be cat photo app. Add that. So now, this is right. So this may not appear in here or whatnot, but this title right here will actually be up here in your browser window, in the tab. That's the title of your web page. So we'll go to the next one. Notice that the entire content page are nested within the HTML element. All other elements must be descendants of this HTML element. Add the lang attribute with the value en to the open HTML tag to specify that the language of the page is English. So we'll go to the language, and that'll be en for English. Check. Oh, lang. Sorry, not language. There you go. So basically letting everyone know that this is English. That's what in the web page, knowing that the text is English. So submit. Now, all pages should begin with the doc type HTML. The special string is known as a declaration and ensures that the browser tries to meet industry-wide specifications. So the very first line of code that we would use is this declaration. So the doc type HTML. So now, as I was talking about the metadata, you can set browser behavior by adding self-closing meta elements in the head. As you can see, meta attribute equals the value. Tell the browser to parse the markdown into multiple languages by creating a meta element as a child of the head element. Set its char set attribute to UTF-8. So basically, I know that's a long string of words, but what it does is basically say that, you know, it's telling the browser that, hey, this is in English. That the character set is in English. So this is basically metadata, is data that is basically telling the browser, or, you know, and telling the, you know, it's telling the browser information, and it's telling whoever is looking at this source code what it's about. So the char set would be equal to UTF-8. See right here. You're gonna also, okay, well, that was the last bit of it. So the meta, you can actually, you can make a description, you can make, you know, keywords, you can make, you know, different kinds of things with the meta element, the metadata element. So just know that. So this is now what we are going to build. Knowing everything that we had done, we're gonna build. I think this is starting CSS. So by the time that we're done, we're going to have a background with the beans. You're going to be able to have, you know, obviously you can center. If you notice that these are now in the center, you got a line right here. You got, you know, a text that's right in the middle too. You have an image here these little images, you have now a table, kind of. I believe that's what this is. You have a table that right here, that this is equaling here, and then you have, so this is the beginning horizontal line, then you have another horizontal line, you have the website link right here, and then you have the footer at the end. So you're making pretty much a menu in the next lesson. So, alright. So, I think I'm going to stop this one here. I think we did pretty good getting through the whole first section of HTML. Now we'll probably be going now into CSS, which is how to design what we're going to build, like incorporating more of a layout changes and how everything looks. So it's the designer of HTML, which is now the cascading style sheets. So, all right, I think this is kind of a good stopping point. It's already 11:25 where I'm at, so I think we will pause it here. So I appreciate you guys coming and joining me and sitting through this. I know we'll get into a lot more exciting kind of things here soon, but I really appreciate it. I know a couple people have sat here most of the time. So Alice Cedra and Nat Zelli, thank you both for staying throughout the duration of this this session tonight. And I hope you guys attend more. And I know OAX came in a little bit later, and I know a few others came and gone, but you two, I'm glad that you guys stayed. So, and I hope you guys were able to at least learn some things. So, alright. Well, I really hope you guys have a good night. I will I don't know the next time I plan to stream. I might stream for a little bit tomorrow. I think probably get through at least this next kind of section with CSS. But I know Saturday I'm not going to be streaming. Maybe Sunday, I'm not for sure yet, but yeah, just kind of stop in, and I might be on, might not, but I think I'm gonna try to at least come back tomorrow and do at least a little bit, but it'll probably be maybe during a little bit of the day. I'm not for sure. We'll have to see what happens. So that way it's not extremely late. So. My wife is giggling over there. What are you giggling about? Oh. Okay. She's watching Jenna Marbles. That's great. Alright, well, again, thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate it. Alright, so I will see you guys in the next one. You guys have a good night. Enjoy work if you got, work tomorrow. And, yeah. We'll return to this page in the next session. So anyone that's wanting to know what we're doing next time, they can see this too. So, all right. You guys have a good night.